In this video, I'll show you how to make a terrarium in a glass dome like this one. This really is a unique looking container and I think it will make a great terrarium. If you want to make a terrarium like this one, a key feature to look out for is to make sure that the dome sits on the inside of the bowl. If the dome was to sit on the outside, evaporated water would run down the glass and leave the system, which isn't ideal. The first thing that I'm going to start with is the substrate. This is my very own terrarium substrate mix and it will be perfect for this build. There is a video on this channel showing you exactly how to make this mix in case you're curious. Usually you'll see me add a drainage layer underneath the substrate, but in a small terrarium like this one it isn't really necessary. So long as you don't overwater, there will be no problems whatsoever. I've poured in a good amount of substrate and then gently compressed it down with my hands. After confirming that the dome still fits nicely, I'm going to start work on the hardscape. These are known as georocks and I love to use these as they've got so much detail and texture to each piece. When buying hardscape yourself, going to aquarium shops is often your best bet. They'll usually have quite a wide selection at a decent price. That's not to say you can't get hardscape for free if you're on a budget. Rocks and stones you found outside work great, just make sure you clean them off first. As with any hardscape, it takes a lot of trial and error. I'm placing in some rocks, making sure the lid fits, and then going ahead and experimenting with some more. I'm trying to create a tall structure that reaches nice and high to fill out the inside of the dome. Now that I've got a general idea of how the structure's going to go, I'm going to start gluing the rocks in place. This is essential in a scape like this one, as stacked rocks can easily fall over and potentially crack the glass. To glue them together, I'm using the super glue and tissue method. All you've got to do is wedge some tissue between the contact points of the rock and then soak it with some liquid type super glue. After a short while, the glue dries and the result is a strong bond that's 100% terrarium safe. Piece by piece, I'm building up the hardscape and gluing it as I go. When it comes to hardscape, you're free to do whatever you want. You can do something much more simple than this, or something more complex. That's the hardscape complete, and I think it will certainly be sturdy enough. The lid still fits nicely, and I'm really happy with how it's looking. Now let's start bringing this terrarium to life with some moss. This species is known as cushion moss and is easy to grow and perfect for beginners. Before planting the moss, it needs to be prepared. All I'm doing is chopping off the base as it's really quite long. This will allow the moss to sit much closer to the substrate. Don't throw these bottom cuttings away, as you can use them as a substitute for sphagnum moss inside the substrate, or you can actually use them to propagate even more cushion moss. To plant the moss, it's as simple as placing it on top of the substrate and gently pushing it down. I find it easier to plant the moss in small patches at a time and assemble it into the substrate almost like a puzzle. With the moss planted, the terrarium has sprung to life and it's really starting to take shape. I'm going to plant a few more patches between the rocks to add a bit more greenery up the hardscape. With the moss inside, I'm going to give the terrarium a light spray down with some water to keep it hydrated. The next plant that I'm going to add is a few cuttings of this oak leaf creeping fig. This is one of my favourite plants to use inside terrariums due to its small delicate leaves and climbing tendencies. All I've got to do is plant these cuttings on top of the moss and they'll send down roots and start climbing up the hardscape in no time. With the planting done, the terrarium is almost complete. These tiny bugs are known as Springtails and they'll help keep the terrarium clean by eating things like mould and decaying matter. You can buy these in reptile shops as well as online. With the Springtails inside, I'm giving the terrarium a good spray down until the moss and substrate are damp but not wet or soggy. The dome can now go on and the terrarium is complete. All you've got to do now is find somewhere to place it and you have got a couple options. You can place the terrarium under an LED light like this one. This will provide consistent lighting and it's often the choice that I go for. Alternatively, a bright spot in indirect sunlight will work just as well. Just make sure you avoid direct sun. If you want to learn more about terrarium care as well as creating terrariums in general, I highly recommend you check out my terrarium making ebook. It's perfect for beginners and will certainly help you get started. There'll be a link in the description as well as the pinned comment. I really hope you found this video useful and decide to make a terrarium yourself.